Micron came up, went up to over 300% in 3 months. And also after it reported earnings, it went down 36% in less than a month. And also Friday, it is still down from its all-time high, a little bit over 26%. So is Micron in a bear market? Well, we're going to take a look at Micron in a little bit more detail later on, along with a couple of additional memory stocks, such as WDC, Western Digital, and also SanDisk, and see are they also in a bear market or not. Stay tuned. Now let's take a look at some of the price action here for Micron. I also label some of these high volume zone and low volume zone here, and let's take a look at this area here on the way up. You see Micron came up to this 850, 800 area, and encountered resistance initially, pulled back and found support here at 650. Then it pushes up and broke through this 850 area and came all the way up to this 1100 before it found resistance and retraced back down and found support to the resistance level somewhere around between that 850. And as you can see, it found support and pushes back up. And once again, it found a little resistance here at this 1100, back tested down here at this 1010, then pushes up to a new high and came back down and tested 1010 once again and found support. And that's where the earning came out and pushed Micron to a new all-time high. Now, since this all-time high, it also came back down, and once again, it tested this area, this 1010 for support and pushes back up. But this time, it did not make a new all-time high, and it faded back down and broke through this 1010, back tested and pushed down. You see how many times it back tested? 3 times, and it failed to be able to reclaim it and get above to move up. So once again, it found resistance there now, and it came back down to this 800, 850 area, this zone here. Remember the zone, this is where it broke out from and into the new all-time high. So it found support and pushed back up to this 1010 again, and it found resistance, and now it pushes back down. So the question is, where is Micron going to go now? Well, one possibility is that it's going to come back down and test this support again, this 800, 850 level, and see what it be able to get another bounce back up. And if it could get a bounce, we'll look for a bounce and make it above this 1010 and then come back and back test it and push back up into this 1100. And that would be the ideal long scenario. So if it could come back up and do this back test, then one probably would be looking to go long up here, up near this 1010 level. Now, if it comes down and it fail to hold this level and breaks down, then we'll look for a back test to come back up to this 800, 850 level, and then it pushes back down into these high volume nodes. And we'll probably will be looking at 650, right? So, and that would be here the possibility of look for short for the move down to that 850. We'll probably get a little chop here at this high volume node here, but I believe once it gets flush out some of the buyers, then we probably will push down to this 650 level. So are we in a bear market for Micron? Well, it all depends, right? Because right now we're basically still looking at the possibility of this chop within this area to continue. So until it breaks below this zone, this consolidation zone, this high volume area, then it is still in a little bit of a consolidation. And if we put a Fibonacci retracement from this April low to the all-time high, we can see that Micron pulled back to almost this 50% level here, and it got a nice bounce back up above the 38.2, and it came back up to this 1010 resistance level, this zone here, before it came back down and back testing this area here, the 382 level. So for the coming week, near term, if it come back into this retracement zone, we want to make sure that it stay above this 50% level. So maybe you come back and test this 800, 850 support once again and get another push back up into this zone here, this 1010 zone, and push it up to the 1100. But if it dips below this zone and then it came down and dipped below the 50% point, the 50% retracement, then we could easily see that it will come down to the 618, and that could put this 650, this high volume zone, as a potential support for the price to come down and test. And if it continue to break down, then we could see it potentially move all the way back to this 100% retracement near the 310 area. And looking at Western Digital, we see Western Digital made a pretty hefty gain as well over the last couple months. It went from the end of March or early April to the all-time high. It gained over 200%. But then after this all-time high here, which is also coincide with the post-Micron earning report, and we saw it came back down and gave back almost 46%, just a little bit over 46%. And even on Friday, it is still down 35% from its all-time high. So technically, you could say Western Digital is in a bear market if it have corrected more than 20%. Let's look at some of the price action and see what we could expect in the coming days. Now here we are looking at some of these high volume zone here. This high volume zone near the 440, and then we have a low volume area here near this 519, 520 area, and then another low volume zone between 600 and 640 here. And you can see as it come up, we encounter some resistance at this 520 area and then pull back and found support at this 440. And then once it broke through this 520, it came back down and tested this area for support because it was resistant prior to the breakout. And now, it came back and test and confirmed that it acted as a support and then push up into the new all-time high. Then once it got into the all-time high, we came back down to this area here, this low volume zone between 600 and 640. It got a nice bounce up, but it got faded back down. And you see that it came back down and back tested, tried to get back up above that and unable to do so. And it came back down to this 520 area where it broke through as a resistance and turned support. So once again, it found support in this area here, and it pushes back up again and unable to get up to the 600 level, and then pushes back down. And this time, it broke this 520 support and came down to this high volume node, this 440 area, and that's where it found previously support at here on the 440. Now it pushes back up and back to this 520 once again, testing for support here. And when we have found support here, and then it broke through. So now it come back down once again, try to test this 520 for support. So when we get a bounce back up and into the 640 and possibly move back up to the all-time high, or will it continue to break down and move to, and this time it's going to break through this 440 and do a back test and come down to this low volume zone here at this 320 area. Okay, so that's some of the possibilities that we're going to be looking at on Western Digital in the coming days. Now, if we put a Fibonacci retracement here from the April low to the all-time high, we can see Western Digital, retrace all the way back down to the 618 and dip below it before it came back in. Right now, it is in this what we call the golden zone here, the retracement zone. So if it continue to break through, because it's breaking down from the 50% level, right? And if it's unable to get back up above the 382, then we'll be looking for another test of the 618. And if it's below the 618, and again, we're basically looking at this 320 and then possibly the 100% retracement, and that will bring this thing down to around 250. And looking at standards, you see standards from the end of March to the all-time high. Less than 3 months, it gained over 320%. And since the high here from this all-time high, it gave back almost 43, 44%. And as of Friday, it is still down 39% or so from the all-time high. And also the other thing to pay attention to is this right here is the post-Micron earning. And notice that SanDisk did not make a new all-time high, while Micron did make a new all-time high before it topped out and faded. So we can see that there's some kind of clue that some weakness is already building in here. So now let's go and take a look at some of the price action. So here, let's go back to where it started as it pushed through here up to the 1600 level, found resistance and pulled back to that 1300 level, then it pushed through and get up to this 1820 area, and now it come back and test this prior resistance as support, then it pushed through into a new high territory before it pulled back into this little bit of a pivot high here and found support somewhere around the 1840 area right here. And then when it on the post Micron earning, it came up and now it put back down and unable to put in a high. So you see that 3 consecutive lower high here. So then once it broke to, once again, dip below this 2000 level and this 1840, a little bit of a support area, and it came back down to this level here near the 1600 level, and it found support, bounced back up, come up here to this 2000 level, and found resistance and pushed back down. And once again, it is back into this 194, pretty much close to this 1300 area, and found a little bit of a support and push back up, because remember it came down and tested for support down here before that breakout into new high. And here it came down and found support and pushes back up to the 1600 level, but unable to hold above that. And as of Friday, it came back, dipped below it. So what we could be looking at in the coming days to see would it be able to get a little bit of a bounce back up and possibly get back above the 1600 and do a back test and push us up to the 2000 level once again. But if it is unable to do this, instead it came down, break this 1300, do a back test, then we'll be looking at this 1000 level and on a failed back test here. Then so depend how it's going to hold up there. If it is unable to hold this level, then eventually we could see it get back down into this 800. Now, if we put in a Fibonacci retracement from the April low to the all-time high, you can see that SanDisk dipped below, retraced below the 50%, almost got down to the 618, but it came up and tried to get above the 382 and unable to do so. So basically, it's trapped inside of this retracement zone. So again, if it comes back down, to the 618 and break the 618, we could easily see these level here, 1,800 level to get potentially tested, and we might even see 100% retracement down to the 560 area. So those are some of the semiconductor stock, the memory stock. Are they in a bear market? Well, technically they are, because they all came down and gave back more than 20%. But it's a definition. I think the more important thing is what direction are they biased on? And right now it seems that they are biasing on the downside. So I would be very careful on going long on these memory stock until it's starting to show a higher low or a higher high. Because right now we are still looking at a series of lower high and lower lows. Anyway, I mean, just starting here, and then here's a lower high, and here's another lower high, and here's the lower low, until it could reverse itself and take out this high here, and then come back down and put in a higher low. Take out this low here and put in a higher low. Then we could start looking at the long side. But for now, the trend is down for now, so I'd be a little bit more cautious on the upside. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel and my newsletter. So thank you for watching, and good luck on your trading.